The Realm. Do you know what the Realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies, a story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie. In the very first season of House of the Dragon, we hear Viserys say, "Many in my line have been dragon riders. However, very few among us have been dreamers." Unfortunately, Viserys would die before he would ever find out his own daughter, Helaena, had visions or dreams of future events. As you all know, Viserys was obsessing over Aegon the Conqueror's dream of a song of ice and fire. Now, according to Viserys, Aegon had foreseen a horrific event where everyone in Westeros would get eliminated by a darkness that rode down on the winds of winter from the lands beyond the Wall. Aegon was able to see the Great War against the White Walkers roughly 300 years before it would happen. And that would not be the first or last time a Targaryen would foresee future events. In fact, the only reason why House Targaryen is in Westeros was because of what Daenerys the Dreamer had seen hundreds of years ago. When Daenerys Targaryen was still a maiden, she dreamed about a horrifying event that would devour Valyria. Thankfully, her father actually believed her, and that's what led him to relocate his family onto the island of Dragonstone. Over a decade later, the doom would fall over Valyria, and on that fateful day, every hill for 500 miles erupted, filling the air with ash and smoke and fire. Everyone who stayed behind in Valyria had died, including their dragons. Now we fast forward to House of the Dragon, where Helaena Targaryen is also able to foresee awful events in her dreams. In one of her behind-the-scenes interviews, Helena's actress said she is able to see the future. She also said, on a level inside her, she knows things. She can't always literally turn that into advice, but she knows things are about to happen. All of this was set up in the first season when she foreshadowed Aemond losing his eye. While Aegon, Jacaerys, and Lucerys had all successfully bonded with their dragons, a young Aemond was upset he wasn't able to get one for himself. That's when Alicent reassured her son by letting him know he would earn his dragon eventually, and Helaena overheard that and said, "He will have to lose an eye." Helaena knew exactly what would happen. We saw that again in a later episode during Lyanna's funeral on Driftmark. That's when we heard Helaena say, "Hand turns loom, spool of green, spool of black, dragons of flesh, weaving dragons of thread." This is most likely foreshadowing the blacks versus the greens, or what is known in the histories as the Dance of the Dragons. Like Aegon or Daenerys before her, Helaena is able to see some of the most shocking events throughout Westeros's history. This happens again at the end of the first season, when Helaena said, "Beware of the beast beneath the boards." We saw what she meant by this when Rhaenys and her dragon Meleys smashed through the floorboards during Aegon's coronation. Now, luckily for them, Rhaenys showed mercy. However, hundreds of civilians died that day. We are immediately reminded of how Helaena is able to see things in the very first episode of House of the Dragon's second season. In her very first scene, Helaena said she was afraid of the rats, and like almost everyone else in her family, Aegon doesn't take what she says very seriously. Aegon doesn't seem to know or believe what she sees actually happens. Later in the same episode, her son was murdered by the rat catcher and his friend. Although Helaena knew something bad would happen, I don't believe she is fully able to decipher all the images from her dreams. All she really knows is they are a bad omen. Now, if we look at the behind-the-scenes video from the first episode, we'll see Helaena has had a lot of other visions of future events, a lot of them directly connected to Game of Thrones. Helaena has actually started to draw these images all over the walls. If you have a look at this image right here, you'll see many different drawings, and I'm sure there's many different ways we can look at this as well. One thing I immediately noticed was the drawings of what looks like headless direwolves. That may be in reference to Ned and Robb Stark, considering they were beheaded. There's also what looks like a boar, the same animal that killed Robert Baratheon. There's even a rat holding a knife, and a small child burning during a funeral ceremony. That's most likely referencing what Blood and Cheese did to Jaehaerys. As we all know, the rat catcher was the one holding the knife, and we'll see Jaehaerys' funeral in this next episode. I also see she's drawn a lot of eyes on her walls, almost like an all-seeing eye or 1,000 eyes in one. Many fans do believe the Targaryens get their dreams from Bloodraven or the Three-Eyed Raven. There's another drawing of what looks like a stag with a crown on its head. It might be foreshadowing the reign of Robert Baratheon, unless that's actually a different animal. It doesn't look like it has antlers, and it does have a red eye like Ghost or Bloodraven. Maybe it's meant to be a rat or direwolf. Now, if we have a look at the other side of the wall, we'll also see an all-seeing eye again. Most notably, we also see what is obviously Daenerys Targaryen during the moment in which she brought her dragons back into the world. That was the moment Dany stepped into the fire, and Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion were born. You can see the large dragon right next to her. In the very first season of House of the Dragon, Helaena only saw images that directly related to what happened to her family during the Dance of Dragons. Now, as she's gotten older, she's starting to see things that will happen much further down her family's line. These events will have a major influence on what happens during the Great War against the White Walkers. Helaena most likely has already seen the exact same dream Aegon saw all those years ago. We will see Helaena again, and I believe she will start to foresee other major events that happen in the future. Now, we don't see any of this in Fire and Blood, but you have to remember, House of the Dragon is rewriting the history. They're using House of the Dragon to set up and foreshadow what happened in Game of Thrones. Aegon saw what would happen at the end of Game of Thrones, and now Helaena is starting to see those things as well. As of right now, she's mostly seeing what happened in the first season of Game of Thrones, but as she sinks deeper and deeper into her depression, I believe it will start to have a major effect on what she sees in her dreams. She will begin to see how House of the Dragon ends, as well as Game of Thrones. She has already foreshadowed the Dance of Dragons when she saw the blacks versus the greens. If you look at this image again, it looks as if the large dragon is shooting fire from its mouth right above the eye. Maybe this is setting up a certain dragon battle above the god's eye. If she hasn't already, Helaena will eventually reveal the fate of at least one of our main characters. Make sure your eyes and ears are open whenever she's on screen again. She is letting all of us know exactly what will happen. Unfortunately for her and her family, no one is listening. Now we know why she's not able to fully decipher what she sees. Not only has she seen events that are basically happening in her life, but she's also seeing moments that won't happen for another 170 years. It's almost as if she's writing everything down as a way to figure out what's happened inside her head. Everything is in fragments right now, the same way Bran Stark saw everything when he first became the Three-Eyed Raven. Although we don't see Helaena that often, she's one of the more interesting characters, because there's so much mystery surrounding her. I am anxious and excited to see what she says or sees next. Let me know what you think about her dreams and drawings down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. As always, I want to thank all of you for watching another video. Make sure you subscribe, that way you can watch everything I release this season. I will be making a lot of different videos every week. I hope all of you have a great day. I will see you again very soon. Bye.